All right, here we are. It is 16 minutes past 5 p.m. It's a Wednesday evening on the Smooth Drive on Smooth 98.1. Love music, love life. It is that time to get into the world of your money on personal finance. This is where we get to have conversations centered around your money, what you can do to grow it, what you can do to make a whole lot more, and of course, those tips and tricks, if I can put it that way, to make sure that you are not on the losing end. My name is Ayo Komike, and Joy Urea is also with me in the studio, as well as our special guest who will be joining us to talk about taking advantage of higher interest rates. And she is Oyinkansola Aregbesola. She's an investment research analyst at ARM Securities. Very good evening to you, Oyinkansola. Great to have you on Personal Finance.
Good evening. Thank you for having me.
All right, it's an absolute pleasure. Now, talking about interest rates, actually an interesting one because we know that in the last couple of MPC meetings and all, it's been a case of the interest rates, going up and up and up. At least in the last, I think, last three or thereabouts, three, four or thereabouts, there's been an increase in the interest rates, and that got people talking. But of course, it's also important to look at it from an investment point of view. So what I'd love to know from you is now a good time to actually capitalize on the higher interest rates in the country at this moment?
I mean, definitely, if not before, definitely now is the good time. Is a good time to enter or to take advantage of this higher interest rates. Because I mean, looking at the CBN's how do I put it, his body language at the
Mm,
last MPC meeting, I mean,
right.
when they I think interest rates by 200 basis points to 24.75%, he actually spoke about the fact that it's not something that is going to persist for long.
Okay.
So that means that we should not expect interest rate to be at elevated levels for a very long time. So if we're going to take advantage at all, to increase our investment options, this is actually the time to take advantage of this higher interest rates environment.
Mm, okay. And talking about that, I know that you wrote well, I'd rather like to talk about it as a note on bank capitalization. So I'd like you to explain what that note was all about in clearer
Right.
terms for for us to get.
All right, thank you. I mean, the notes basically was explaining the circular that the CBN
I put
released
out.
last week. Yeah, last week
Okay.
Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
About bank recapitalization, how they need to increase their capital. Right. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
basically for commercial banks, merchant bank, as well as non-interest banks. I mean, examples of such bank, for example, for commercial banks, an example is Senate Bank or UBA, for example. We have merchant banks, we have banks like FBN Quest, we have banks like Greenwich Merchant Bank. For non-interest bank, we have banks like Jay's Bank and all of that. So that's an example. So basically, the circular is to give them like a directive that this is actually the capital that we this is the minimum capital requirement from each of these category of banks. And
Gotcha.
so the reports basically, or let's say the notes, is basically to shed more light on you
Or
know
what it was about.
yes, on the guidance, and as well as because I mean, looking at where the banks are at the moment,
Yeah.
and then looking at what the CBN is requiring them of in the next 2 years, because that's the timeline that was given. Told them they
Mm,
have until March 2026, March 30th, 2026, to meet
okay.
up with that requirement. So looking at where they are now, so that's what the report was majorly about. Looking at where they are now and where they need to be in the next 2 years. So the shortfall, basically pointing out the shortfall in capital needs of this bank. So definitely that means that we'll be seeing most of these banks coming into the capital market trying to raise fresh capital, either from the
Right.
public or in form of a private placement. Or we could even see mergers and acquisitions, amongst these institutions. So that's what the report is all about, and also to state some of the advantage of this recapitalization exercise.
Hmm. All right, now or you can staying with the banks. I mean, we've talked about it from the point of view of the financial sector, but let's bring you home to the average Nigerian. Me, Joy, the vulcanizer on the streets, the woman who has a small shop by the side of the road. Should average Nigerian care about the banks being recapitalized, and does it bring any benefits to them? And what does it mean to the average Nigerian that the banks are being recapitalized right now?
All right, so to the average Nigerian, I mean, if we're saying that banks are being recapitalized, simply means that they are more like injecting money into the banking system. They're having more money at their disposal, and of course, the reason for that. I mean, if you look at the CBN's agenda, looking at what the CBN governor highlighted at the bankers' dinner last year, around September, he mentioned that oh they need to, I mean, service the one that is 1 trillion naira economy that the
Mhm.
new administration is trying to pursue. And
Right.
it means that, I mean, looking at where the banks are at the moment, it's not exactly possible to to service such ambition. So, and that's the reason, and that's one of the reasons for the recapitalization. And if we're saying that you want to service a 1 trillion naira economy, it simply means that we'll have a lot more opportunities in the economy. We'll have, a lot more funds in the market. So if we should see this recapitalization, come to fruition, it simply means for the average Nigerian,
Mhm.
or for the average, let's say a sole proprietor, for example, or a
Okay.
one-man business, would actually be able to access more capital from these banks, right? So that's the one of the benefits, of this recapitalization. And so basically, more funds available to give out to the people that are at the deficit side of the society. So that's I'll say that that's the one of the advantage to the average Nigerian.
Okay, now talking about that, it's really interesting that we're having this conversation because I've heard a lot of different things that have gone around. When things like this go on or happen, different people come up with different theories and different
Mhm.
possibilities. Some people have said, "Oh, this is happening. What happens to my money in the bank? My money will disappear. This and that." So all those funny things that are going around. What would you say to those people who have those kind of thoughts to allay their fears that there's nothing going to happen to their money?
Well, the first thing to note is the fact that, I mean, why we're even having the recapitalization exercise is not because these banks are distressed. So, I mean, we've seen the CBN governor, mentioned severally that, oh, they've done stress tests for these banks. I mean, seeing the recent policies that have been implemented in the past that has even affected different businesses, especially the consumer goods sector. I mean, we've seen them report, losses due to this FX situation. I mean, so other businesses, I mean, we've seen other businesses suffer. However, when it comes to the banking sector, especially for the FX regulation policy, it was more like a positive to them. So, I mean, the CBN governor coming to has actually even, basically allayed that fear, of a banking failure in the past.
Okay.
So that's not so we should actually rule that out when it comes to the reasons for this capitalization. So it shouldn't be a cause for concern really. It's more like an opportunity to expand the economy.
Right. Good stuff.
Okay, I like where that's coming from, and I like how you've also expanded it for the lay person to get more insight into that. However, now I want to get back to the interest rate and you know, especially with the data that was gotten from Nairametrics, it showed that CBN will be paying over 1 trillion naira in interest payments for money market securities, which was actually issued during the first quarter. So my question there is, does this actually show that interest rates from uh, that people in the public sector are now investing, and are we going to see an up on this side?
Yes, I mean, the reason why we're seeing that offshoot in interest payments, firstly, is because of the fact that CBN are deliberately increased stop rates or the interest rate that they will pay on these instruments to investors. And of course, the major reason is to get more money out of the system, to manage liquidity glut in the system. And so definitely we've seen higher interest rates, due to that. So it's and because of the higher interest rates, I mean, normally if if for example I used to invest, if I'm going to if I used to invest 100,000 naira and I get, let's say, a 10,000 naira as my interest before, but now you're telling me that I'll get 50,000 naira. I mean, normally I normally invest 100K, but I don't mind going
Yeah.
to go and look for
Getting
150
more.
elsewhere, that a guy give me
Yes.
150 first. Let me add to this money. I will pay. In fact, I will give you interest on your money.
No, no, because you're sure that you're also going to get something at the end of the day as
Yeah,
well.
so I'll definitely increase my investments, with such a body because of higher interest rate. So because of the higher interest rate, we're seeing higher demand in the market, and I see it persists, in the short to mid time, seeing that we are expecting interest rates to still be elevated in the short to mid term.
All right, now still talking about interest rates. Let's talk about the last Treasury bill auction, last T-bill auction that came up in March. It had its stop rate of 21.124% for a 364-day bill. It was 8.3% in January. Now that is a huge jump. Now,
Like,
are people taking advantage of this large jump in the rates, or or is it that people are not really tuned to it? What exactly is going on there?
I would definitely say that a lot of people are taking advantage of these higher rates. I mean, don't forget that I mentioned that we've seen higher demand, in the markets. There's this jargon that we made mention of in the fixed income market. We call it bid to cover ratio. I mean bid to
okay.
cover ratio. Basically comparing bid for these investments compared to the offer by the CBN.
Right.
And we've seen this, ratio jump as high as even 14 times. That is 14 times the amount, the CBN offered for an instrument. We've seen people, demand for it 14 times of
Oh,
that
wow.
amount. Yes. So they, and I mean, and looking at, comparing that bid to cover ratio with last year's investments, I mean, we could even see as low as 0.9 times. That means that we didn't even have demand up to the amount that was offered by the CBN. But now we are seeing, higher demand in the market. So yes, I would definitely say that, a lot of people are taking advantage of that high interest rate. And don't forget that inflation, last year is not the same as this year. We've seen it, cross the 30% mark. So definitely a lot of people would need to want to close that, negative, real rate of return. And yes, I'll say that the CBN is actually trying in that regard, to close that gap.
Oh, that's awesome.
That actually is awesome. And this conversation is just opening up my ears and all that. 'Cause I'm just thinking, time
Where to put in the more
where to
money?
put in exactly. And we actually will continue to explore this as we get along, but we need to take a quick breather right now on personal finance on Smooth 98.1. We'll be back in a bit. Don't go anywhere. Stay with us. It's all about your finances made easy. All right, quick break, and we'll jump back in.
It's actually very, very quick, so it's not going to take up.
No, there's still no okay. There's no 5:30. There's no 5:55. So there's 5:55. After 5:55, that's it. That's it for the day. That's it for the day. Okay, no. Oh, so after 7:15.
Oh, okay.
7:15. Done.
That's interesting.
Stories making the headlines. From politics to economy, policies to decisions, national to international. Take a moment, read all about it.
You know this coming today?
Yeah, he put that out during
Okay. During
yes.
okay, during 5 at 5.
Yeah. So it's the other one.
I have to remember to read them. That's why I hate opening messages. Like I just forget that is a message there.
But he's asking this.
I'll attend to that later. Now is not the time. All right, welcome back to the second half of Personal Finance right here on Smooth 98.1, your love music, love live station, 31 minutes past 5 p.m. My name is Ayo. Joy is right here in the studio, as well as our very, very, very special guest this evening, talking about taking advantage of higher interest rates. And she is Oyinkansola Aregbesola, an investment research analyst at ARM Securities. All right. Well, let's get back into the conversation. I mean, you said a number of interesting things
Mm-hmm.
already during this conversation, and another interesting thing is that that is on the should I say on the mind is money market instruments, treasury bills, fixed income instruments like bonds. They're looking a lot more attractive right now. So, is there still a case to be made to invest in Nigerian stocks?
Well, yeah, I would say that there's
I like the smile on
well,
your
as
face
in
right
the
now.
very okay. So, but to be honest, I'll actually say that there's still a case. I mean,
Okay.
there are different reasons why people invest. I always say that you need to have like a goal first before you start investing. You don't just
Mm,
jump on the wagon because other people are doing it. You need to know the reason why you want to invest, and then so I mean, looking at different goals of different individuals, it might actually stocks might actually look like a better option for them. I mean, looking at maybe if they want to look at the long term horizon, maybe they just want to invest in this particular company for like 20, 30 years. I
yeah.
mean,
Okay.
towards yeah. So I mean, it depends on investment objectives really, and there are still there's still a lot of stocks on the Nigerian Stock Exchange that I believe that are actually undervalued. So this is yeah, I would say that this is actually also a good time for those investors that are looking to invest in equities for a long time to actually key into that market now because remember we're seeing mixed sentiments in the equities market due to the higher interest rate in the fixed income market. A lot of people are ditching stocks for treasury bills and
Treasury
bonds.
bills.
So if you are the kind of person that that you actually want to play
In the big boy
with
market.
equities for a long time, this is the best time to. This is one of the good times to enter into the market. So and it's I mean also for investment diversification purpose. I mean, you don't just invest in a particular class of investment.
Investment. Okay, so talking about that, I know that Reuters reported that the Nigerian government should issue dollar denominated bonds for this quarter. And so that, well, obviously, why they say stating this is so that Nigerians can invest their dollars with the federal government and as well earn interest. What do you make of this?
Okay, so firstly, I think that the reason behind that, of course, is not really different from the monetary policy
That
aspects.
okay,
I mean, the
okay.
reason why we've seen the CBN, issue special bonds to foreign investors, and
Okay.
I mean, we saw that in the month of March, and I mean that's one of the reasons why we see that the CBN had cleared um, the um, the legitimate FX backlogs. They got that
Mm,
funds from foreign portfolio investors, and the endpoint is actually to stabilize the naira. So I don't think the reason is also different. I think it's similar. I mean, already made mention of the fact that yes, CBN is working, CBN is working, monetary policy is working, but
Mm.
that's not they alone cannot tackle the inflation issues that we have because the inflation dynamics that we have is both
mm,
supply side and demand driven. So that means the fiscal side also needs to step up. So I would say that it's a good development. I mean, coming from the fiscal side as well. But in terms of subscription, I really can't say number of Nigerians that have this dollar. But I think that the report also highlighted the fact that they would also look at Nigerians in diaspora. So I think that's a good case. It's possible. I mean, it's possible to actually
okay.
get dollars from this source.
All right.
All right, so let me go to WhatsApp. There's a message here. And speaking of WhatsApp, you can Send any messages in, any questions or any thoughts, any observations, any experiences that you might have with us. And Oyinkansola will definitely do her best to answer those questions. This is from Tosi, if I got that correctly. And he says, as a youth, what are the best things to invest your money in?
As a youth.
Yes.
Well,
That
I
was
mean,
that was put in specifically as a youth,
very,
not not
very,
not not as a Nigerian or as
as
an
as
individual,
a
as a
youth.
youth. Very specific.
That's very specific. I mean, I like that question. I mean, one thing I'll always say is age is on our side, speaking for the youth now. So
Mm,
that means that we can actually afford to um, do a lot more investment in, I'll say, a little bit risky investments. When I mean
mhm,
risky investments, stock is an example. I mean, you can literally lose, the entire value that you put in a stock, or you gain as high as 100, 200, 300%. I mean, at the moment, this is third of April, there are a lot of stocks that, that they've done as high as 400, 500% already in the year. So I'll say that, but then it also still depends, even whether you're a youth or not, still depend on your risk appetite. So we
Okay.
shouldn't forget about that actually. So I would say for that individual, it's best to um, talk to a financial advisor so that you can actually assess your risk profile. Are you the kind of person that you can sleep if you put your money in stock, or you're not, and so stuff like that. But I would say generally for the youths, like I said, age is on our side, so that means that we can actually afford to, earn higher return on, more risky investments.
investments.
But then, the caveat is you need to actually know your risk appetites and then talk to your financial advisor.
Okay. It's actually very interesting because you made me very curious to actually when you talk about assessing your risk profile. Is there like a questionnaire, a test, an exam that you do to actually determine
What your
your
risk
risk
appetite
appetite is?
is.
Or, I mean, help me here. Help me
it's, it's
understand.
so it's not exactly like maybe a 20-page questionnaire that I'm going to have to give to you. It's basically just knowing your kind of person that, you don't mind
Losing out on
losing,
certain.
yes, losing this entire money or just
Mm,
gaining 200% on it. So you actually
okay.
just need to know. It's just basically like knowledge about, and then I think a way to do that is actually to even test the
So
waters.
what is
Let's
first?
know
Okay.
how let's know how you react if you lose 50K before you go and put 1 million naira in an investment.
I don't think anybody would be looking to lose 50K right now. Bear it in mind what is going on out there. I mean, losing 50K right now, a lot of tears in the eyes. I mean, you might seem like you're fine, but you hear it in the person's voice that, man, it is hitting really hard looking at the economy right now. Okay, but thank you for actually answering that
I like
question.
I like that. Start out small so that you know whether if it gets to 1 million, whether you'll be able to close your eyes.
Some people won't be able to sleep. They'll keep on refreshing their phones, refreshing to see what's going on. But anyways, talking about risk appetites, making an investment and all that. Now, when one looks at setting up an investment portfolio, what exactly should they be allocating their money to? How should they allocate their money? And is there a particular pattern? Is there a one size fits all, or is it dependent on individuals in setting up their portfolios?
Thank you for that question. So there is really no like a particular method or metrics really, but but one golden rule is you can't put all your eggs in one basket. So the very
Mm,
first thing that you
mm,
need to know is that you can't actually just invest your entire money in one particular asset class. You need to diversify your
okay.
investments. So, but then it now comes to so when it now comes to allocating your investment in each of these class, your investment objectives will come to play. So let's say, for example, the reason why you want to invest 1 million naira. I mean, for my case, I'm still writing professional exams. So I mean, if the reason why I want to invest 1 million naira is because I want to pay
Or
a fee for a professional exam that I know that I pay in dollars, and I mean,
okay.
looking at the Naira dynamics, I can, I can choose to allocate some of, that amount in a dollar denominated investment, because I know that would be a safer option for
Safer
me,
for you.
right? And then I can't put that money in stocks, because I mean stocks can either go, it's two-way, it's not one-way traffic, it can go up or down. So I mean, if maybe peradventure it went down when I was about to pay for the
For it.
exam,
Mm-mm.
so I'm just going to be
Mm-mm.
That would be
stranded.
a
So
loss.
exactly, so I'm going to put my investment in maybe like a safer investment, like for example fixed income market. I know that, oh, they already told me my interest rate is 21%, I can't get less than 21%. Yeah,
Okay.
so that means, so in choosing which kind of investment or how to allocate your investment objective is very important.
Hmm. Okay. Seeing that that's a thing and we need to be, proactive. Um, Now I know you've even just answered one of a part of the question I want to even ask now, which is with regards to making investments, which would you ask us to stick to? Would it be the conventional options? I know you've already said when it comes to stocks and bonds, you want to do, as I say, tinko tinko before you know what you're doing. Would you actually just say, hey, just go along with treasury bills? What exactly would you advise?
Right. Okay. So I won't say that you should stick to conventional investments. I mean,
Okay.
the more diversified your investment is, the better for you. So you can actually look into alternative investments. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, you can add real estate, to that list, for example. I
Hey.
mean, and there are times where they actually like very high returns from this investment. So you can actually look into other investment outside stocks, bonds. So yeah, I'll
Mm,
say that you don't really you shouldn't actually just stick to the
mm,
conventional investments.
okay.
Spread everything all around. And as Oyinkansola said, I'm going to echo it once again. Do not put all your eggs
In one
in one
basket.
Well,
basket. If
basket.
if that basket falls, you know what will happen.
Oh my
You
days.
know what will happen.
I know.
All right. So as we round up on the conversation, this very interesting conversation, I might add, Oyinkansola, what is your investment outlook for Nigeria as we begin this third quarter and progress throughout till the end of the year?
All right, thank you for that question. So I think for me, I still think that there's still some prospect for upside. I mean, like I mentioned, we should still expect higher interest rate in the fixed income market, and definitely, like I said earlier, for equities markets, most of some of these stocks are still largely undervalued. So I
Okay.
see them, that is, I see their stock price increase significantly at the end of the year, and that should be, I mean, especially if someone wants to exit by December this year, that should be like a form of investment that they should actually look into. So I'll say that my outlook is positive,
Okay.
really, for the investment landscape.
Mhm.
All right. Positivity, positive energy. We absolutely love it. That's what we need as we get along in Nigeria every single day. And of course, for the rest of the year, be positive as Kosola has been. She's looking at something good to come out at the end of the year. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. We've been talking to Oyinkansola Aregbesola. She is an investment research analyst at ARM Securities. It's been a pleasure talking to you this evening.
Thank you. Likewise. Thank you for having me.
All right. And for all our wonderful listeners, thank you for being a part of Personal Finance. We do this every single Wednesday right here on the Smooth Drive on Smooth 98.1 at 5:15 p.m. Meanwhile, stick around and keep listening because the Smooth Drive will continue. More great music to come and so much more.